Oh, we're live. So they just heard you say he's an asshole.
Well,
He was talking about his cat.
Everyone should know he's an asshole.
Right.
I'm not ashamed of it.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Savage Joy with Real Progressives. And tonight, it is the 5th edition of Mr. Douche joining me. So yeah, he's got his Bernie gear on. He's ready to rep. I dig it. So his real name is Pat. So I end up usually still calling him Peter because, you know, he's a douche. No, just kidding.
I can't decide.
But he's
I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with this hat because it's like it sits normally like I'm sort of like in the, electronic calculator club or something. But if I go flat, it doesn't work for you. And because I'm too old to pull the flat off, the flat seems weird to me. So I don't know. I'm working on it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think like that, but kind of pull it down like a little bit more. There you go. There you go. Yeah. You don't look creepy.
What I'm talking about is kind of like 2020.
Right. So guys, we're using a different system, so you'll have to excuse us for looking at our phone every now and then, because that's the only way we're going to be able to see comments. So anyway, so because we have so much to talk about. So one of the things that is going on today, obviously, is people losing their shit because Bernie hasn't said anything about Assange. It's infuriating, it's upsetting, it's frustrating, but I did a post earlier today, and I want to read it because I've tried to put things into perspective. I'm gonna get mad shit for this, but it's frustrating as fuck to see people continuously holding Bernie to things without thinking of shit practically. Do I want him to speak out on Assange? Absolutely, of course, but in case you're forgetting, he's in a situation literally nobody else is in. For 3 years, he's been accused of working with WikiLeaks, costing Hillary the election. You think he's going to come out and praise Julian? Get real. He'll do a tweet a few days later, it'll be worded horribly, and people will continue to lose their shit. If you want to risk everything to make a statement, try thinking about the situation. We can say anything we want with zero ramifications. He doesn't have that privilege. We don't have to like it, but it is reality. If you're surprised that this is taking place, you haven't been paying attention. Personally, I'm not a one-issue person, and I'm not willing to sacrifice 40 years of fighting for we the people because he pisses me off. Some of us need things like Medicare for all and only trust him to achieve it. So basically, I was responding to the ridiculous amount of straight up temper tantrums, like just absolute temper tantrums. Like, you didn't say anything, so I want my donations back and I'm done with you and I won't vote for you. Like, seriously, all of a sudden in 24 hours, your entire, everything changed. Yesterday, you were like, oh my God, I can't wait to vote for Bernie. And now you're like, fuck him. Like, I want nothing to do with him. For one thing, like I said, I am not making apologies. I am fucking pissed. But I am not surprised. I pay attention. This is how it goes. Like, I don't like it, but it's not shocking. And for people to be like, oh, well, so-and-so spoke up and he didn't, yeah, that's fine. But like I said, he's in a situation nobody else is in. For 3 years, he's been told he's worked with WikiLeaks and Russia to get Hillary out and get Trump elected. So no, it's not the same situation. He has everything to lose. So I'm I'm not happy about it, and I'm not going to like praise him for it, but I'll be damned if I just say fuck you and like change, who I'm supporting. What are your thoughts, Pat? I can't hear you.
That's my fault. I got it now.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes.
So I have the exact same sentiments because I've always seen Bernie as super pragmatic. You still can't hear me?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Um, so, the fact that it's been proven that Russia sort of tinkered in the smallest amount and tried to advantage Bernie, all that doesn't have to be anything legitimate, but the mainstream media is running with that story, and that's like proven fact to half the world who watches CNN and MSNBC for their news. So if Bernie comes out too hard in defense of him, I mean, he should come out in defense of him. He should come out and say journalism needs to be protected. He should come out and say the sources of these journalists, it's a bad trend to set and blah, blah, blah. And he should come out in support of Julian Assange, period. But to not understand why he doesn't is really missing the situation, because he would get painted as an Assange apologist, helping Russia. I mean, look, we all want him to fight that narrative, but there's only so much he can do considering he's the focal point of it from the establishment. So, I mean, I don't want to defend him on this one. I don't want to defend him on this one either. I wish he would go a little further, and he probably will end up releasing statements that are calculated and smart, that couch the answer in a way that doesn't piss off all the people that watch MSNBC and Rachel Maddow every day and have bought into all these narratives.
But it's crazy because 3 articles he came out against Bernie and he didn't even say anything about how, him and Julian are linked and Russia and stuff. So like, I mean, people have to stop equating, I support Julian. I have supported him 24/7. I was at Occupy DNC for 6 days, marching in over 100-degree heat, for 14 hours a day. I support Julian. But what I'm also realistic and I'm also pragmatic, and I realize that I am not shocked that this is the way he's doing it. It doesn't mean I have to agree with it. But for people to think that all of a sudden he's just going to be like, yes, Julian, they're already attacking him and he hasn't even said anything. And, people who are thinking about this, like really putting themselves in his position, are understanding it. And I'm thankful that my post has like over 400 hearts, and it makes me happy because I've had to block a few people. But I mean, the fact that people are willing to just say fuck him, I won't vote for him, I'm done. I mean, so you don't care about people getting Medicare for all and things like that, because if I agree with someone 85% of the time, that's awesome, and I'm with them. Do you know what I mean?
Right, and I mean, I understand the argument of pushing him left and making him stand up for Assange and the freedom of the press and everything that we all agree on that. But he's in a unique position and needs to carve out his words very, very carefully, unlike us. And one slip up from him can be leveraged into something huge. So, I would just say give it time. He'll probably come out with a response that is almost suitable to a lot of people that are in the WikiLeaks camp. I mean, I'm a huge supporter of Assange as well. But part of why we have Tulsi on the debate stage, hopefully, is to make these cases you know, some of these cases that we wish Bernie could make, but he can't himself, you know, and that's something I'm optimistic about, is that we'll hear more of the, you know, he can second those words in some ways better than he can present them himself, since he's the guy that they're going to try to make the argument about. But
exactly. If he agrees with someone, it is so much less bad for him. And I do have hope that I don't know anymore. I'm becoming less and less sure of it, but I do have hope that there is still that plan that she'll drop, give him her delegates, and, you know, be the VP or however that goes. But I appreciate the people who understand where I'm coming from. I am getting shit from some other independent media, but as journalists, we have to realize we literally can say anything, and the worst we do is get, like last night, someone called me a retard. Like, oh wow, you know, that's what we get for the front runner. He's finally being called the front runner, which is so delicious. And for him to come out and be like, hey, guess what? I support this guy you've tried to link me to for 3 years. And, oh, it's all good because, you know, people understand this. And the way people are having serious temper tantrums is like, even if he came out right now, this second, and said the most amazing post in the world, they'd still be like, well, you took too fucking long. I'm still not supporting you. So what do you think?
I mean, I think some of the emotions will settle down behind this, because a lot of us were shocked by this coming. I mean, it's going to take some time for it, but it's also a developing story that will go on for months before, you know, I mean, we've got a long time for it, but I mean, I just don't want people to lose faith in Bernie just because, like, the people are calling him establishment because he's not defending Assange. Don't, you know, we can defend Assange. We can do that. I know his bully pulpit, and he's got the audience that it would have a huge impact. But suppose that impact meant he couldn't be president, and we get Kamala Harris as president next. Exactly. Is that worth it? Is that worth it? I mean, that's the trade-off.
It is.
You know?
And I find it extremely privileged if you can say, I don't care if we get Medicare for all and stuff. I'm not voting for him because, hey, that's pretty fucking elitist, because some of us don't have that privilege to just say, oh, well, he's the only one that I think could, you know, achieve Medicare for all. And he's been fighting for it for 40 years and actually introduced the legislation. But yeah, this pissed me off, so I'm done with him. Like, so fucking stupid.
And so issues like this, I mean, this is a real issue, and I don't mean to discount anyone that cares about it passionately, because I do too. But you know, you have to look back and say, well, there's some pragmatism that should be involved for anyone that's a progressive, because we have a once in a lifetime chance to overcome the system and get Bernie in there. And, you know, the whole next year is going to be about getting us to support an alternative progressive. The establishment isn't going to try to get us to get on board with Kamala or something. They really want to divide us up and get us to support someone like Pete Buttigieg or, you know, Warren, so that we get a three-way race going amongst progressives. So issues like this are perfect for them. That's why they're getting highlighted so much. You know, that's what they will do.
And I don't doubt they will ask at the debates. I don't doubt. Like, I think for sure they're going to. Especially, you know, because Tulsi said something, and I was talking about this last night. The debates start in June. They're 2 nights, because as of now, there's 18 people running as Dems. So there's going to be 9 and 9. And I will bet that on the one night, it will be Tulsi, Bernie, and Warren, and probably Gravel. The 4 of those, hands down, because they want to see them fucking fight. It's going to be interesting. So yeah, Mark, I agree. Mark, who's a teammate, said if people want to see real justice for Assange, then they should support Bernie, who would be able to use the bully pulpit as POTUS. And absolutely. So I think.
Well, I believe that, I mean, as far as U.S. crimes, I mean, Bernie could pardon Assange, I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, I mean, of course, this is just, being presumptuous, but I think if he was already elected, he would handle this quite differently. But it's presumption. But, I'm not ready to be like, fuck you, and just ditch him. I think that's, it's really upsetting to see, the way people are just completely trashing him. And, people love to compare AOC to him all the time. She hasn't said shit. She has not said shit. She hasn't posted in a day, but I see like no comments on her page about like, why aren't you talking about Assange? I don't see anything on there. So I'm like, why are you only holding Bernie to this? Like, why are you not? And at this point, and I'm not saying I'm okay with him not speaking up, because I fucking wish he would, like, with all my heart. But at this point, I'm kind of like, you guys are freaking out, but what the hell would him saying anything do at this point? What would it do? It might actually hurt Julian, in the sense that, oh, Julian's just a Bernie supporter, we're not going to do shit for him now. Like, they could literally use it to dismiss the importance of Julian. I don't put anything past those people.
That's exactly what they would do.
Yeah.
Immediately they would stick those two together like glue and make it all about Trump, Bernie, WikiLeaks. That would be the game plan. I mean, that's why, as much as we want him to come out with some strong words, he has to couch it very carefully, very carefully. Everything he says on these things has to be super careful.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just so disheartening to, to see. Yeah, it is the same thing with the taxes, Robin. You're right. And that's why it's so frustrating, because like yesterday, they're like, who gives a fuck about Bernie's taxes? We're with him, period. We stand with him. He's the best. Nobody's better than him. We're voting for him. And then today, fuck Bernie. It's like the highs and lows within 24 hours. And I mean,
we have to take a pause on it somewhat and understand that the division is being fueled, that it's not necessarily all, I mean, these narratives get sculpted, and the second they feel like there's a little wedge issue they can divide progressives up with, they're going to do it. And so, the outrage, I mean, there's a lot of us that are outraged and about Assange and would wish that Bernie would come out, but that anti-Bernie vibe connected to it is being fueled by propaganda and money and the narrative on TV.
Yeah, I mean, they're literally like, enjoying their erections, watching us fighting. They love it. They're cheersing right now.
I'm just going to let that comment soak.
Huh? You didn't like my comment? I thought it was funny. So, just kind of scrolling. Let me see. So, let me see. Yeah, Oh, Jeffrey says, nice cup.
Oh, thank you. A friend of the show and a friend of mine sent it to me, so it was really awesome. Appreciate it.
Oh, really? Someone had it made?
Someone had it made, and I would say her name, but she didn't want to be publicly known.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
I got you a really badass button, so
I know it's on my
took over 2
fridge.
months to get there.
I would turn the camera around and show you my fridge, but my apartment is not the cleanest right now, so we have to let that go.
I kind of anticipated that. Bachelors, you know.
Yeah.
It's expected. So anyway, I digress, but there's so much shit that went on this week too. And last night I discussed some of Gravel, Mike Gravel. What are your thoughts on him?
I mean, if you get a guy like Gravel on the debate stage, it benefits Bernie, period. He's going to go after all the nonsense and just call them all out. And it's going to create comedy that creates sound bites, and any sound bites anyone can create that's not Bernie is good for Bernie, because they're just going to turn one little teeny slip up that can be phrased and presented in out of context into the worst thing that Bernie ever did and call his campaign over, for 20. That's their whole plan for the next year. It's over. He just blew it. And then, nobody buys it. And next month, he just blew it. We're going to get a lot of that. So Gravel's a nut, but he's got a smart social media campaign and smart people working for him. And he's not in it to win it. And I actually appreciate it. I miss your show, so you might have a totally opposite view, but I'm all for him.
Yeah, so you guys, some people asked me in the comments, would I try to get Mike Gravel on? And I'm so happy to say that I got an email from their press team, and he said he's totally down to come on the show. Which is insane. It's kind of intimidating, but he's so fucking awesome. And we can say that Bernie's not the oldest because Gravel's 88. So sorry, Bernie's not the oldest.
Gravel sounds like dirt. I mean, when you say Gravel, he's old as gravel or something.
He is dirty, and I love it. I deemed him Savage Gravel.
Nice.
He's badass. If you guys don't follow him on Twitter, you have to. He is so freaking hilarious. He rips Cory Booker a new one, Kamala a new one. Oh my God, it's so beautiful. He has yet to say something about Bernie, but he will during the debates, because if for those of you who don't know who Mike Gravel is, he is running for the presidency as a Democrat, and he ran before about 20 years ago, and he's infamous for just destroying Bush and Kerry on stage. And he's running again with the sole intention to move people further left. He has stated he will not run to the end. He does not want the presidency. He will run to a certain point, take the delegates he has acquired, and give them to the most progressive candidate. Right. So I think it's pretty fucking awesome. Of course, I hope that candidate is Bernie. But I think that's a really amazing idea.
This goes back to what we were just talking about with people fueling, something that's a wedge issue between the candidates. So there's this sudden wave on Twitter that Gravel's bad and he's part of the Democratic, establishment's plan to create more drama and split progressives. Gravel's never going to get enough votes to split progressives, and he's going to get out, and all he does is help Bernie. So all the people worry about Gravel, the people working on Gravel's campaign are people that supported Bernie and a week ago before Gravel got in, or a month ago, whatever the hell the day was. They're Bernie people. These, Gravel's cranky Bernie after a few beers saying what's on his mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know how like real old people are? They're like, I don't fucking care. Like they don't give a shit.
Yeah,
They don't. They're
he's
like,
getting no
whatever.
shit, Bernie. Yeah.
Yeah. And if people think that he would like be working with the Dems, why would he continuously
No,
destroy Booker and Kamala and stuff? Like, oh yeah, I'm sure they're okay with that.
it's nonsense.
Let me see. Oh God. Another shooting at a mall in Pittsburgh. I'm going there tomorrow.
I
That's
didn't hear about it.
scary. Yeah, it must have just happened. Oh, Mark, I'm going to Pittsburgh tomorrow. I forgot to tell you. Look me up. Anyway, I digress. So yeah, before I forget, guys, I am traveling to Pittsburgh tomorrow. I'll be covering the Bernie rally on Sunday. I'll be interviewing some people who are attending, and then also Jenna will be helping me film the event. It is outside, and it's supposed to thunderstorm all day. So I don't know what kind of crowd we're gonna get, but if it's not very big, I'm gonna fucking jump on stage. Promise.
Nice. Full savage.
If you see me getting arrested, that's probably why. So what else do I have on the list? Oh, and then Mike from Humanist Report, the love of my life, is coming back next Friday. I'm so fucking excited. So yeah, he's coming back. And if you haven't seen when I was on the Humanist Report 2 weeks ago, definitely check it out on YouTube. There's like over 20,000 views. I'm so proud and happy of it. So he'll be joining me again Friday. So let me see what else I have on my list. So Tulsi did hit the 65,000 mark.
Awesome.
What's that?
Oh, I'm all for that. I'm good. I'm happy to see Tulsi there.
Now, do you think that it took long to get it?
Oh, without a doubt. And that was really surprising to me. I mean,
Very surprising.
I think part of that is, so this is where, you know, as much as we are all in Team Bernie, I'm sure 99% of the people watching this are on Bernie's side for this, but we are in a bubble. We are in a Twitter, Facebook world that isn't people, it doesn't reflect people that don't pay attention to politics. So, you know, Tulsi still doesn't have much name recognition, and that's strategic. It's always been that way from the media. You know, they hated her for outing all the problems with the DNC in 2016 and shut her out. So, you know, I think that's a good lesson, like, to take in, that what we think in our heart, like, oh, there's all this support for Tulsi. Well, there isn't all this support for Tulsi. There is in our world, and people, you know, her ideas, if they were put out there, are very similar to Bernie's and 90% similar, but people don't know her. So anyway, I just want to check people on, like, our world of, like, Twitter specifically it's not all that reflective of everybody. So we have to work our asses off to get Bernie elected.
I have to remind myself of that a lot, because it's all consuming, and you see these comments and you're like, oh my God, we're gonna lose, look at all this. But then you're like, wait, this is a fraction of people, and people in the real world who I meet love Bernie a lot of the time. So, but yeah, I mean, I was looking at her Twitter page, and Steve on here actually pointed out she only has 400,000 followers, which really surprised me. So I think after the debate, she will no doubt become more of a name. So yeah, I agree, Jeffrey. I agree. She's not doing well in polls, and she took a long time to raise the money. I think a lot of it is because people keep bringing up her past, and keep accusing her of things that she hasn't said and done. Now, two issues I have with Tulsi is when did you watch her CNN town hall?
I watch highlights of it. Honestly, that's it.
Because she was straight up asked, are you a capitalist or a socialist? And she said, I don't like labels. And she was asked again, well, but are you a capitalist or a socialist? And she reiterated, I don't do labels. And I feel like it was a total cop out.
That's a Beto answer right there. Yeah.
It is. It's like, take a stance. Just take a stance. Say, even if you say, well, I see the flaws in capitalism and I lean more towards socialist policies, like, you don't have to label yourselves, like, just kind of talk on it. But I don't like labels. I was incredibly disappointed with that. And also, she does not support the federal job guarantee, which is a problem with me. I don't see any reason why someone would not support that. Do you have any idea why?
So I think her role is going to be to help get Bernie elected. I think she knows she can't win this thing, and how strategic they are together, I don't know, but it allows Bernie to be left of her. Is that a real strategic thing going on between the campaigns? And I don't know, but what you don't want is someone so far left of Bernie that people start thinking, well, Bernie's not left enough. I mean, it's good that we're all pushing him left, but we need him to get elected too. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I like Tulsi. I wish her the best. When I saw her on Joe Rogan's show, I was a little concerned that she was going to be going hard at Bernie. Something about her interview just rubbed me a little wrong, that she was going to separate herself from Bernie. But at the end of the day, these candidates are going to run for their own self-interest, and it's good that they put their views out. And who am I to say? But her support, it's not going to ever pull too hard from Bernie. So that's all I worry about.
Yeah. Do you find that her supporters are really, really, like, they have this divide between Berners lately, and it can get ugly in comments. It's like they forget that we want the same things.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen that, and I brought that up once in the past on Twitter, and got tons of crap for it. But
yeah, that's what happened to me.
Whatever.
I'm like, you're proving my point. Like, right now, you are proving what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I never want to I don't want to rub supporter, like, I want unity amongst progressives, so I don't really want to attack, like, supporters of true progressives.
Yeah.
But sometimes they'll say some shit that needs a smack in the face. I mean, like, I don't know. I'm there for that. Whatever. Let's, I think people are wise enough to realize, most people get that if Bernie's not perfect, that's still not, like, now, maybe we don't attack him so hard on it. Maybe we say, I wish Bernie would be left on this thing or something. But, like, saying I'm not for Bernie because Tulsi's better on issue X. Well, issue X with Tulsi she's not going to win. I'm sorry, Tulsi folks. She's not going to win.
No. And
0.0% chance.
I kind of think she knows that.
Well, that's where I wonder, if there's some strategy at some level about allowing Bernie to be left of her. I mean, that's just conspiracy shit or whatever. I don't know, but
Yeah. I mean, I think that's like literally the freaking brilliant plan if that's what's happening. You bring someone, you know, they support some of the same things, but they strategically have differences and they also have a very different past. I mean, he's been fighting for these things longer than she's been alive, and they can both bring things. And if they're doing this to the point that, hey, she's going to drop, give her delegates, she's his VP, we're fucking winning. We are winning, period. We've got this. But I mean, I feel like I want burn and turn 2020. I love me some Miss Nina. I know you do too.
I'm with you there. I mean, to me, Tulsi's a better Secretary of State than she is Vice President. And Nina brings in more. You know, I've gone back and forth forever, and I probably always will. And at the end of the day, if Bernie picks someone like Warren, we all just have to suck it up, because something in the back of my mind says he ends up with Warren, which I don't love, but you know, I mean, that's, yeah, I know, but it's a possibility.
I'll fucking cry, but trust me, I've thought of that possibility. I can't, oh my God, I can't fucking stomach Warren for so many reasons. But unfortunately, you know, I shouldn't say who, but I've spoken with one of Bernie's relatives, and he said he is like devout to a fault. Once he feels like a connection to someone and establishes a friendship and things like that, he, like, it's set for life. And you can see that because when he eats with her, he like puts his hand on her back, and I'm like, get the fuck over. I get so mad. I'm like, don't touch her.
And the last thing I want to do is say something that takes his, I mean, nobody gives a shit what I think anyway, but I don't want to promote, well, anyway, I don't want to promote anyone saying we should not elect Nina, because Nina's my gal. I love Nina to death. She is the heart and soul of the movement. She has gone around with our revolution and worked her ass off like no one else. No one else. And on top of that, strategically, she would be absolutely perfect. Probably better than anyone else. I mean, she probably would if you look, if you break down the numbers on things. But what I will say about Warren, if it ends up someone like Warren, so Warren is one of those people that's always had like the devil on her shoulders on both sides. That's Warren, you know, like, you can be vice president, and that worked with Hillary. That's literally why she endorsed Hillary, you know. And so that's what most of us hold against her. I mean, her, you know, so anyway, but make her VP. If she is VP, I feel like she would listen to the Bernie shoulder. And you know, so in that regard, I don't fear her as VP. I don't fear her being a centrist, because she's got permission to be left now, and the world is behind her being left, and that would change things. But by the same token, that's why Bernie might pick her, and that I would rather not be her.
Yeah. Like, okay, she's taken corporate money for decades. She was a Republican until 20 years ago. She's remained silent on Standing Rock. She says, I'm capitalist to my bones, and stands and claps about not being socialist country. I mean, the list goes on. And her and Bernie just, they're too different. I feel like he would be absolutely just a step down to go with her. Plus, she fucking endorsed Hillary over him, so she can eat a bag of dicks for that. I'll never forgive her for that shit and her matching pants.
Well, and she's terrible at campaigning. You know, even as VP, she could embarrass him and cost him votes. I mean, she really could. You know, that to the right, you know, they play on all these silly bullshit things like her. I mean, but it's on her. But the Native American stuff with her, like that's her creation. You know, I mean, but those things do play on the right, and that's why someone like Joe Biden, you know, like with all his videos touching kids, like to ignore that because we want to cover it up somehow until the primary, until he wins the nomination on the left, is the dumbest thing ever. Like, we have to look at what the right is going to use against us. I mean, we never had this situation before 2016 where we all said, let's not really vet our candidates. I mean, that's so, you know, Warren is a liability in some respect, even as VP, because she will make the right more enthusiastic than some other people.
Yep. Well, and also, I think about Warren being on the debate stage with Trump. Trump will eviscerate her. I mean, he will rip her a new one. And it's because she gave in to him. She should have said, you know what, I'm not going to give in to your xenophobic tropes. And no, I'm not going to do as you asked me. I have enough respect for myself and my family, so drop it. But instead, she went and she gave in to what he was teasing her about. And she looks like a fucking fool for it. And
but that was,
he has that.
Yeah, that was that period where everyone thinking about running in 2020, this is like a year ago, was going after Trump. And, you know, she got her ass kicked with all the Trump stuff over her Indian heritage nonsense. And then Biden was going to take Trump out behind the bleachers. He got his ass handed to him. He looked like an idiot. You know, I mean, granted, both of them did to most sane people, but you know, if you're on the right, you're going to look at, I mean, most people are like, well, yeah, I mean, not if you're on the right. If you're on the left, you know, Democrats are going to say, well, we don't really want that. We don't want some old guy talking about fighting another old guy behind the bleachers. Like, that's not elevating the political discourse. It's not raising positions. It's just dumb shit. And Joe Biden is dumb shit every day, every single day, from the moment he enters the race, is going to be dumb shit out of Biden's mouth. And I'm here for it.
Oh, before I forget, a Massachusetts poll came out yesterday, and Warren's in third, Bernie's in first. Just thought I'd throw that in there.
Yeah, so, you can go back and you can read all these establishment articles, if you Google it, about how Bernie's problem is Massachusetts. You know, so they create all these narratives and they all get their asses kicked. They all fall apart, but they move on to the next one. But if you go back, there are tons of articles about saying, well, Bernie's going to split the vote with Warren. It's never going to work because she's going to take Massachusetts and it's going to be a problem. And she's getting her ass kicked in her own state. And Kamala's getting her ass kicked right now. Well, not her ass kicked, but she's not winning. Yeah. She's not winning California, which is huge for Bernie, because to be ahead of her now.
First as of now.
Yeah, that shows you, like, California, the people that know politics in California and followed it for a while know she's not progressive. And everyone I know, like, I happen to know a lot of people politics adjacent, and they all have stories about what a terrible person Kamala is. So that is pervasive around the state. I mean, people really do know in the state, people that follow it do know that she's not progressive. They don't like her.
Right. And speaking of Biden, saying something stupid every day, did you hear today's soundbite?
No.
So he was asked about opioids and addiction and deaths and stuff, and he said, you know, a little pain is not that bad.
Like, that's Biden every single day from here until the election.
Yeah.
Anyone who thinks that guy is going to win is delusional. And that's why no one in the party really thinks he can win. He's just in the thing so that Bernie can't say he's 20 points ahead of Kamala.
Mm-hmm. Biden, people, I've been posting every day, Biden's still gonna run. And people are like, nah, he's dead. He's gonna
he's
run.
in.
I'm telling you, he's gonna run. You
He's
agree?
in. Yeah, absolutely.
He's in.
I mean,
He already
there's
has
always
his exploratory committee.
there's the possibility that it doesn't, but look at all the pressure on him to stay in from the establishment. Like, they are all like, if he gets out, the second he gets out, they are so fucked with their narrative, because the polls show that, like, Biden getting out, most of his voters go to Bernie, which is weird, but that's the name recognition voter, and they're not similar. But they have nothing. They need him in forever just to keep splitting the vote in the polls. It buys them time to create a Beto or create a Kamala or something.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about Buttigieg? He's rising in the polls.
Yeah.
And I've done some research. Not a fan.
He's not the worst guy, but he's not really that progressive. So you got to look at him and think, well, why is this guy getting elevated? I mean, he's getting elevated to try to divide the progressive vote. Period.
Absolutely.
I mean, he wouldn't get that otherwise. I mean, he's got lots of bad comments on the Black Lives Matter. You know, he was an all lives matter guy. You know, he blames what was it, 7 years ago or something when it happened, but he blames being ignorant and not understanding what the difference was between Black Lives Matter and all lives matter.
Yep. He has a great relationship with Israel and has insulted Palestine. Not a fan. And he was a Hillary delegate. Also not a fan.
Right. I mean, so far I have not really attacked him much, in the hopes that in the goal for me was to not elevate him too much. Like, I don't want to put his name out there much, because they're trying to create him as a thing that, I mean, he's the guy that says the things people like, and he sounds great. He's like Beto, but not an idiot, kind of, like.
Yeah, he's smarter.
He's smarter.
He speaks 15 languages, so yeah, it's like he may be. Oh, he's having a private fundraiser that's $1 bajillion as well. Buttigieg. I don't understand how that's judged, but if you guys say so, Buttigieg. I don't know. I don't get it, but he's having a private fundraiser that's like boku bucks. So whatever. He's like, no thank you on him. But here's what's really crazy. CNN, I believe it is. It could be CNBC, but MSNBC rather. I think it's CNN is doing 5 town halls in one night this month. It's like, I know Bernie's at 9, and I know it's Kamala and I forget who else, but it's 5. Literally, it's like 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m. Like, what the fuck?
Well, that's what they did. That's how they got Tulsi in last time. They had 3 debates, same night, hour after hour. So, I mean, that's the strategy. Like, put all these people. I mean, it's good that they're doing that in a way. I mean, it's better. It's a fairer system than last time where you blacked out Bernie, for example. But if you notice, I mean, something I picked up on is rarely will they mention Bernie on CNN or MSNBC without 30 seconds later pivoting to Pete Buttigieg. So that's kind of the, it's like, oh, here's Bernie saying this thing. Well, here's Pete saying the same thing, and holy fuck, Pete is young and gay. Like, holy fuck, he
Yeah.
said the same thing, you know, which is, it's not that he said something wrong. He's saying the same thing. So why wouldn't you like the same thing? So now we'll have someone else on to tell you about the old argument and socialism is scary. That's kind of the move that they're doing.
Yeah, socialism is definitely the boogeyman. So what else was I gonna say? He was something I wanted to get your opinion on. So the oh, the big day is coming. Bernie's going to release his taxes. Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! So we've heard about this for what, 3 years? And of course, they're not going to be satisfied when he releases them because they're going to pick something that offends them, or it's, well, he still didn't release them quick enough. So it's not going to be like over. So he came out and admitted that he's a millionaire, which no real Bernie supporters really give a fuck, because if it's book sales, who cares? Were you surprised when he said he's a millionaire now?
No, anyone, like, I don't know any Bernie supporter who's like, oh, he's a millionaire and I gotta tap out now. Like,
Yeah.
not a one, you know. So it's all, this whole argument is played for centrist. I mean, so I watch, you know, all I do is I watch a lot of bullshit TV so people don't have to, although I don't comment on it enough. But so I watch CNN and MSNBC, the whole Bernie millionaire bullshit. And they stacked all their panels with people, and every single one of them, I swear to God, go back and look at it, they all laughed. It's like they were told to chuckle about Bernie being a millionaire. Like that was the playbook. Is Bernie? Oh, how's that going to play with Bernie's folks? He's a millionaire, and nobody cared. Like nobody supporting him cares. Like everyone gets that a house costs $300,000-$400,000. You sell a book that sells, you know, a couple million copies, you're going to make $1 million. Like, you know, he's still like what, third or fourth poorest in the Senate. I mean, you know, all those arguments are nonsense. And what I think is almost beautiful about it is it's pretty transparent. Like when you get up and you have like all these paid brilliant pundits that these people buy into that watch them all the time, and they're laughing because the guy has $1 million and still wants to get you health care. I mean, it doesn't work is the end.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. Like it's bullshit. It looks like the like that's what you've got, you know. I don't know. Maybe I'm biased. I can't, you know, there's confirmation bias or, you know, all this stuff, and like it's hard to separate myself from how I feel about it all. But I think most people read that when you have all these pundits laughing at the guy with $1 million. Yeah, it just, to me, it works against them.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because, like, first of all, people don't research, and his records, if you go to the senator's site, it will give you a breakdown of all the senators' incomes, and even if they have stocks, and I mean, just like a breakdown. And as of 2015, he had $563,000. So that's 2015. If he's a millionaire now, he's published 3 books. One was a bestseller. He said that's how he's gotten his money. Like, we'll see on the taxes. But, I mean, if he made it through, like, Big Pharma or something, different. But, like, and he said the word can. Like, if you wrote a best-selling book, you can be a millionaire, too. And people were like, he just said anyone who wrote a best-selling book is a millionaire. No, he didn't, twat. Twat waffle.
Yeah.
He said can.
But it just goes to show you all their fear mongering against socialism and democratic socialism. It's like none of that says don't make a buck. It just says don't be an asshole, pay people fairly, get people health care. We should all have a certain level of humanity that's shared, and our government shouldn't work to promote a corporation that benefits on the backs of fucking people. It's not rocket science, you know, like
Right.
you can still have a house and $1 million and Bernie people aren't going to come fucking guillotine you. I mean, some will. I know some that would. But I mean, it's $1 million. It's like today, it's like we're not talking like $50 million. You know, it's so much different because a house, you know, a house in California is like damn near your $1 million. You know.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I think that what else is fascinating to me is that when people act like it's this big revelation, okay, so like I said, in 2015, he was 563,000 was his income, but he had a mortgage, you know, too, so it's kind of less than that. But
But
anyway,
then
so
James bank fraud. That's where he got all that money. The bank fraud.
oh yeah, the one she was acquitted on.
The
Yeah.
one that they don't talk about now. But anyway, I just had to bring that up because they just it's one
Well,
bullshit narrative after another. But
oh yeah, and that was even proven that it was started by a guy who worked for
Republican.
Trump's campaign.
Yeah.
And then he walked it back and said, I didn't mean that. I shouldn't have said it. And they still investigated it. And it turned out to be nothing. But, you know, I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, so I researched it. And from what I found on several sites, the last person to become president who was not a millionaire was Hoover in 1945.
45. So, yeah.
Wow. So, I mean, you're talking decades since anyone's been elected who hasn't been a millionaire. And if people are going to act like this is such a big deal, my question is, why has nothing he said changed? So you're talking 563,000 in 2015 and $1 million now, and not one word has changed from what he says. So that's what would tell me, oh shit, if he started saying, well, maybe we shouldn't tax millionaires and billionaires, that would piss me off.
Well, and you look at all the people in the Senate, you know, in Congress that started poor and end up multimillionaires. You know, they don't, you know, how did they get there? Like Bernie, you can pin it down to he wrote a book that we all bought because we like Bernie and we believe in his message, you know, and that's it. You know, you're not looking at, well, I put some money in this oil company and then I voted against, you know, being able to prosecute oil companies when they spill around the coast. You know, it's none of that shit. It's he wrote a book that we all believed in. I mean, a lot of people bought at least, and that's it. So, you know, their narratives they're trash. That story is like done. They're not going to bring that up next week. They already know it's a losing story. They got their maximum night out of it, and it's done.
I don't know. It's so bananas to see this shit. But speaking of taking money, so I get in this thread yesterday. I don't know why I bother sometimes. I'm going to change someone's opinion when they have like pro Beto, you know, handles and stuff. I mean, why do I bother? But like, the girl says to me, I said, you know, she was like, I fully trust Beto on the environment. And I was like, oh shit, here I go. So I jumped in the thread and I'm like, can you explain why 2 weeks ago he refused on camera to sign the no fossil fuel pledge, taking any money from it? And she goes, do you think it's right that he would turn down donations from people who work at gas stations?
Come on.
Best comeback ever. That I was like, I sat there with my mouth open for like a minute. Like, is she being facetious? Is this bitch for real? Like, she real? I was like,
well, so
okay.
the thing we have to realize with the Beto supporters, I mean, honestly, is like a lot of them are new to politics. They got behind him, and they're kind of the Obama folks. They're kind of like the, you know, like, I mean, some of them. There's a lot of it's propped up, but like there are the true believers that heard Beto, and they're like, holy shit, the whole country's getting behind Beto. This is great. And it's like, well, we all bit our lips because he was running against Ted Cruz, you know. So now that he lost to Ted Cruz, here's who fucking Beto is, and so those people like. So normally I try to be unity-ish, but the Beto folks need a big fucking smack. Like I separate them out. Like they need to like realize you're not progressive, you're not a lefty, you're full of shit. Like just the Beto folks more than the other folks. The Beto folks need a slap in the face. I mean, a virtual slap.
Yeah, I agree. You cannot talk sense into them. I tell them you are voting for someone who lost to someone who Trump beat. Like that should be your indication that it's not a good person to chance our future with. And running for something in the state is really different than running for president. So there was this article a couple days ago. I don't know if you saw it, but these two kids who worked for Beto's campaign came out and said, this is why we support Bernie Sanders instead. And people just went apeshit. Well, what do you mean? Why would they do that? Well, because they realize that there's a difference between state and country, and he is not fit to run a country. I don't want someone who voted Republican over 30% of the time.
Yeah, and I mean, Beto is really being propped up. I mean, that's pretty clear by now. They're hiding their numbers. They, you know, he does these small gatherings. I mean, he had in El Paso, he had less than 2,000 people show up. I think we're good to be afraid of him, and I think the Bernie campaign realizes what he could be. You know, when I talk to some people like adjacent to the campaign, they see the potential Obama-ness of him, you know, creating him. Mm-hmm. But in the end, you know, he has to evolve from his old message to a national message. And his old message worked in Texas. It doesn't work nationally. He'll get better at his national message, but we need to make his record stick to him. Like his record is his record. I don't care what he says. I don't care how fucking high he climbs. He wants to get on a fucking table 50 feet above everybody. It doesn't change his message. His message is still shit. He's still like word soup salad, but he's not going to be so word soup salad because he's going to get better at that part. He's got people to coach him on how to say things and phrase things. But he's bullshit. You can't have someone, you know, the Green New Deal is imperative. You can't trust a guy that took all the second most oil money in the Senate to be in charge of the Green New Deal. So fuck that. And he's for Medicare for America. That's done. You're done. I'm sorry. You cannot be not for Medicare for all. Period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's privilege to be like, oh, hey, I've never needed it, so I'm okay with this, dude. Don't say you feel bad for people dying because they can't afford their medication and then go support someone like Beto, because I'll call you out and tell you you're fucking full of shit. If you really felt bad for someone like that, you wouldn't vote for someone who doesn't support it or waivers on it or anything like that. Yeah. It's so infuriating to see that.
And this is probably the pettiest thing I will say, but he named one of his, I just learned this today, so I have to share it. One of his kids is named Ulysses. Ulysses.
I know.
Who the fuck names their kid Ulysses? That's such a dick, Dad. Like, I mean, it's not about the kid. He didn't think about the kid. I mean, what is your nickname when you're Ulysses? It's horseshit. Fuck Beto. Sorry.
I was like, that's so pretentious. And that's my husband's favorite book. That's why I was just like, oh my God. But they have a Twitter page. They have a Twitter page for Beto's dog. It's called like Aloysius, what's his last name? O'Rourke.
It sounds
it's
awful.
something O'Rourke.
Yeah.
It's so bad. Aloysius. That's awesome. Okay, so yes, yeah, Odysseus. These comments, I can't. Okay, so as people who are very MMT, we got some really great news today. Did you see about Miss Stephanie Kelton?
No, I love her though, but I have had no news today, so educate me.
She is back on Team Bernie.
Right on.
She said about a month ago, I am working with a campaign, but the person hasn't said anything yet, so I'm not going to announce it. I was thinking, if it's anyone but Bernie, I'm going to flip my fucking shit. But yeah, so she's back, which is freaking awesome. That's really exciting because she knows her shit. So that's good. If he wants to understand things monetarily and economically, he made the right choice. So that's definitely exciting. What do you have anything else you want to touch on?
Politically, you know, we just got to don't get divided. That's how I feel. Like, I mean, if someone might be a flavor of the month a little bit left of Bernie or something, but no one has a track record to prove and to make us trust them like Bernie. So just keep the faith with Bernie. Oh, I'm going to be, I forgot, I'm going to be out tomorrow, Sacramento. Anyone? Is this there? So the book.
I want a bookmark.
Yeah, so my friend that made the mug for me sent me these bookmarks that are handmade Bernie googly eye things. I don't know if it works upside down, but
you have my address.
I'll send you one. So if you buy a book, you get one of those. Inconvenientdouche.com. But anyway, tomorrow I'm going to be in Sacramento, out and about, and on second Saturday I'll be in front of the Trade coffee shop if anyone wants to murder me.
No, they have to go through me first. So, all right. And then I'll split the money with you.
There you go.
That does
perfect
make much sense. But yes, that's awesome. And heads up, guys, in case you missed me saying it earlier, I'm traveling to Pittsburgh tomorrow, and Sunday I will be covering the Pittsburgh Bernie rally. I'm going to start interviewing a
Did Joy disappear? I don't see Joy on screen. Uh-oh. Do I need to take over or leave?
And also, all
right, so well, if anyone's still here, I'm going to let my cat in, which should be really exciting for everyone.
Yeah. Aw, I love him. He's a cat of color. Oh, and Mike from Humanist Report will be coming back next Friday.
Oh, ow.
Joe Biden hates me. Oh, hi, baby.
He hates me so much. I'm probably going to be bleeding after this.
What's his name? Pedro?
His actual name. Well, he's Pablo. Well, he's Freddy. My gay rescue cat, Freddy. If it's Peter Douche, to me is Pablo Picasso, and he makes me bleed daily, at least weekly. He's really an asshole. He's super mad right now. He's super mad. He's gonna cut me.
I called him Pedro, so that's not that different.
Yeah, Pedro works.
Right. Aww. Oh, you know what I wanted to ask you? What do you think about the new Peter Dow? What the fuck?
I am so
awesome.
Yeah, I'm all for the new Peter Dow. Like,
yeah.
So the only caveat to it is that if you've been paid for 4 to 6 to 8 years to spew propaganda, you should probably never be in the news again. You should not be like respected. And it's hard for me to, he helps the cause now with what he's saying, but if in a month, 2 months, 4 months, a year, he pivots to, well, I just can't trust Bernie, so we all should be behind Kamala or something. That's the danger. And since progressives pretty much won the war of ideas, the only way he could stick around is to pretend to be progressive. So I'm not saying I don't trust him, but he should never be trusted. Once you're paid propagandist, you're done. I mean, that's kind of how I look at it.
I felt that way for a while, but about a week ago, he defended Bernie about something and was like, well, I welcome him to the race, and I think we need to focus more on policy and stuff. And Showbot fucking flipped on him so bad.
Right.
And he made a post like, it's crazy to me that Bernie supporters are being the kind ones to me, and Hillary supporters are being so ugly to me. Like, and he made a post about that, and which made him get reamed even more. So then he made another post about how Bernie supporters were being nicer to him and stuff. So I feel like
so I get that. I get that, but strategically, how is he ever going to win back anyone he can convert? Because he's
not.
But he's part of the losing. They got ousted last time around, so he has to embrace. Like, no one is going to win the Democratic primary who isn't a fake progressive. So this is the only chance he has to rebuild something. So I'm not saying, I don't want to discount what he's saying, and I appreciate that he's being very leftist now. I appreciate that, but will I believe it? I don't. You got to give him some time on that one. And so anyway, and as far as Peter Douche is actually based off Peter Dow, for people who don't know it. So personally, I've taken all the personal stuff out of it. You don't hear about my wife of color. You don't hear about my gay rescue cat, Freddie. So I'll keep it an abstract concept as Peter Douche until he makes the pivot.
Yeah, I kind of think of you as like a conglomeration of like every resistor. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're just kind of like that neo-lib rolled into one, which essentially was him. So, well,
True.
Any last words? Any last words?
No, I'm good. The cat's here again. Ugh.
Yeah.
So
Pablo
says goodbye.
Bye, Pablo.
No. All right.
All right. Thanks for coming on again. Love you.
Love you too.
Bye.
Bye.